Have you ever wondered what it really looks like when a soul begins to break? Not the dramatic collapse you imagine, not screaming or shattering glass, but something quieter, something colder. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like someone who smiles while slowly dying inside. Carl Jung warned us, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And that is the essence of breaking inside. We do not face it. We mask it. We perform for the world while a storm grows in the hidden chambers of the psyche. Outwardly we laugh, we work, we talk to friends. Inwardly, the foundation is crumbling. Schopenhauer described life as a pendulum between suffering and boredom, and when the soul begins to crack, both feel unbearable. The man who once felt pain as proof of life now feels only numbness. The woman who once dreamed in color now sees the world in dull shades of gray. The break doesn't come all at once. It seeps in slowly, like water into the walls of a house, until one day the structure gives way. So let me ask you, have you ever worn the mask of strength so well that no one could see how close you were to collapse? This is the hidden tragedy of the human condition. Most people never break where the world can see them. They break inside, in silence. And silence, left too long, becomes a coffin. Have you ever asked yourself why the world rarely notices when someone is breaking inside? Because we've all been trained to applaud the mask, not the truth. Society teaches us to smile when we are bleeding, to laugh when we are hollow, to perform even when the stage is collapsing beneath our feet. Jung called this the persona, the carefully constructed mask that faces the world while hiding the shadow. And the heavier the mask, the more fragile the soul behind it becomes. Think of how often you've said, "I'm fine," when you were anything but. That phrase is not just a lie, it is a shield and a prison. Schopenhauer argued that suffering is woven into the fabric of existence, but modern culture pretends that endless happiness is possible, that you can purchase joy, that positive thinking alone will save you. So when suffering inevitably comes, people bury it in silence. And the silence corrodes from within. Nietzsche wrote, "If you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." The truth is that most people already live staring into their own abyss, but they do it in secret. They hide it from friends, from partners, from family, until the mask becomes so convincing even they forget what lies beneath. But the abyss does not forget. It waits, it feeds, it deepens. So let me ask you, have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if the face you wear each day is really yours, or just the mask that hides your despair? The psychology of breaking is not about weakness, it is about pressure without release. Imagine a glass filled with water, drop by drop, until it cannot hold anymore. The final drop is not the cause of the break. It is the endless weight of everything before it. And this is why so many souls collapse in silence, because they believe breaking openly is shameful, when in fact, it is the silence that kills. Have you ever wondered why the most broken souls often look the most composed? The psychology behind it is simple and brutal. When the inside begins to collapse, the outside overcompensates. Jung described this as the law of opposites in the psyche. What we suppress in the unconscious manifests in exaggerated form on the surface. A man who feels powerless becomes loud, aggressive, always proving. A woman who feels worthless becomes endlessly cheerful, hypersocial, always laughing. But beneath the performance, the fracture spreads deeper. Nietzsche warned us that the man who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Yet when the why dissolves, the mask becomes the only thing left, and the mask cannot sustain you. It cracks under the smallest pressure. That's why so many people who seem fine suddenly collapse, leaving others shocked. I never saw it coming. But the signs were always there, hidden behind overcompensation. Think of it. How many times have you convinced yourself that if you just keep smiling, just keep grinding, just keep pretending, the storm will eventually pass? But storms do not disappear when ignored. They gather force in silence. And when they finally break, they take everything with them. So I ask you, are you living your life as your true self, or as the actor playing the role everyone else demands of you? If you want to go deeper into these truths, into the shadow, the ego, and the psychology of masks, subscribe now and turn on the bell. Because what we are uncovering is not comfort, it is confrontation, and you will need strength for what comes next. Breaking inside is not weakness, it is the soul demanding truth. When you ignore it, you live in slow decay. When you face it, the collapse can become transformation. But first, you must dare to take off the mask, even if the world rejects the face beneath. Have you ever noticed that a house rarely collapses in one sudden blow? It rots slowly, silently, until one day a wall caves in and everyone calls it a tragedy. But the tragedy was there long before the collapse, hidden in the cracks no one dared to see. The human soul breaks in the same way. Carl Jung taught that what we resist not only persists, it grows stronger. Every ignored crack, every buried pain, every smile that covers despair, it all feeds the silent collapse. Outwardly, the structure seems fine. Inwardly, termites are eating away at the beams. This is why people break down in the middle of an ordinary day. Not because of that single event, but because of years of erosion beneath the surface. Schopenhauer believed that suffering is the essence of life. To live is to suffer. To deny it is to invite deeper torment. And yet modern culture pushes us to deny it, to filter it, to polish it, to hide it. We turn our pain into curated images, into jokes, into silence. But pain denied does not vanish. It waits, it accumulates, and when it bursts, it feels like the world itself is caving in. Think of the tree in a storm. The branches whip, leaves tear away, but the tree with roots deep in the earth survives. The one with shallow roots falls. When your roots, your meaning, your center, your truth are neglected, even the smallest storm can topple you. So I ask you, are your roots strong enough to withstand the storms of silence, or are you living in a house already eaten from within? Breaking inside is not the end. It is the warning that something essential has been neglected. But most ignore the warning until silence becomes collapse, and collapse becomes despair. Have you ever considered that what you call breaking might actually be the beginning of becoming? Carl Jung believed that the greatest danger is to live only as the mask, never meeting the self that waits in the shadows. When the soul begins to fracture, it is often the unconscious forcing its way into the light. The breakdown is not meaningless. It is a summons. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." A soul that cracks is not being destroyed. It is being confronted by the very truths it spent a lifetime avoiding. Arthur Schopenhauer, in his bleak wisdom, said that life is nothing but suffering driven by the blind will. He argued that peace comes not from chasing illusions, but from stripping them away. And is that not what breaking inside does? It tears away the illusions you once clung to, false loves, false identities, false securities. What remains is raw, painful, but real. Nietzsche took this further. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Chaos is not the end. It is the womb of transformation. What feels like collapse may be the soil of something stronger. The abyss you fear may also be the place where your strength is forged. But here is the paradox. You cannot control the timing of this breaking. It arrives uninvited, in silence, in moments you least expect. The choice is not whether you break. The choice is whether you allow the break to transform you or to destroy you. So let me ask you, when your mask begins to slip, will you cling harder to the illusion, or will you dare to face the shadow beneath? Breaking inside is the psyche's rebellion against a life lived in denial. It is the call to meaning, to depth, to truth. The question is whether you will listen, or whether you will let silence bury you alive. Have you ever wondered what truly breaks a soul? Not the pain itself, but the silence that follows it. The psychology of breaking inside is not about weakness, but about repression. Jung reminded us that everything denied becomes stronger in the shadow. When you bury grief, it returns as emptiness. When you silence rage, it festers into despair. When you cover fear with a smile, it corrodes you from within. The collapse comes not because you are fragile, but because you believed you could carry silence forever. Schopenhauer, bleak as ever, declared that life is woven from suffering. But he also hinted that truth comes from facing it directly, without the masks that society demands. And here lies the paradox. Breaking inside strips away those masks. It exposes what was false, even if it leaves you trembling in the dark. Nietzsche saw in this darkness not only ruin, but rebirth. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. But strength does not come automatically. It comes from choosing to face the abyss rather than turning away, to stare into the collapse and say, "Yes, this is me, and I will rise from it." So let me ask you, are you ready to see your breaking not as an ending, but as the terrifying doorway into who you were always meant to be? This is the final truth. The soul does not break to punish you. It breaks to awaken you. But the awakening will cost you everything that was false. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever hidden a breaking inside so well that no one noticed? And what did it reveal to you when the mask finally slipped? Share your story in the comments. I read them all. If this journey spoke to you, subscribe and turn on the bell, because we're just getting started. In the next video, we'll go deeper into the darkest fear of all, rejection. Carl Jung believed that only when you stop fearing rejection does everything change, and that revelation may be the most dangerous and the most liberating truth you'll ever face.